It's always a privilege coming your way with the latest updates of business stories. My name is Kweku Tseme. This evening, I touch base with the world of business. And hey, I have some details from our energy sector. Just stay glued as we feed you in with all the latest updates. Now, Ghana's power purchasing agreement with Car Powership is expected to save the country between 100 to 120 million US dollars annually as one of the power ships arrive in the third week of November. The power ship project is expected to account for 22% of Ghana's total energy generation.
The government last year signed an agreement with Messrs. Karadenic Power Group and Car Powership of Turkey for the provision of 450 megawatts of power to alleviate the power crisis in the country. The first of the two barges, which has been constructed by Car Powership of Turkey, is expected to start sail from Turkey on October 25 and expected to arrive in Ghana by the third week of November. The 225 megawatts of power from the ship is expected to be connected to the national grid by the first week of December to help end the country's erratic power supply for the past 3 years. The power ship has the flexibility of using the low-cost heavy fuel oil and natural gas, unlike light crude, which is mostly used in Ghana. Ghana could save costs with the use of the power ship by eliminating the high cost of power production.
All right, when the news happens first, we're always sure to break it to you. Very shortly, we'll be bringing you some information from the presidency. But we'll continue with some business updates. But just keep glued because we'll be furnishing you with some breaking news from the presidency. Now, the Economic Community of West African States, through its West Africa Power Pool, is implementing a regional power hub for the sub-region. Now, the intervention seeks to integrate the various national power systems into a unified regional electricity market.
The project, which is in partnership with the West Africa Power Pool, will see the adoption of a regional energy development plan to provide electricity to the sub-region at competitive and affordable prices. Acting chairperson of the ECOWAS Regional Electricity Authority, Mfenyiwa Ikenu, has called for rapid measures to meet the energy requirements of various sectors within the sub-region.
Part of the reason why we have all of this deficit in the region, obviously, is because of the lack of a governance framework. But the West African Power Pool is also building on the belief that this region has a lot of potentials in terms of power generation. We have tremendous potentials in hydro resources, in solar, in wind, even in nuclear, basically. So if we're able to create the enabling environment, we should at some point in the future, and hopefully not in the too long future, be able to have sufficient power to create a very liquid market.
A regulatory council member of the institution, Alagi Basiru Gai, believes the initiative will address the twin challenges of energy access and energy security.
We're working on putting in place contractual templates to facilitate cross-border exchange of power. So basically, in terms of the governance, we're putting in place all the necessary regulatory frameworks so that the West African Power Pool will be functional. If you have smaller countries, it becomes less viable for an investor to invest in these small countries. But when you're talking about 15 countries, it becomes a bigger market and it makes the projects more viable.
Meanwhile, the International Renewable Energy Report reveals Africa could generate a quarter of its renewable energy by 2030.
I would also want to find out tonight trade relations between the different countries, how we relate to the Western world, and then coming down how we relate to sub-Saharan African countries. Well, if trade is not fair between us, then we're losing out as a continent, Africa. Now, Head of Public Relations, Ghana Standards Authority, Kofi Amponsa Bediako, has indicated that 10% volume of trade among ECOWAS member countries is worrying as it slows down economic growth and development. He attributed the situation to trade barriers in the areas of standards and conformity of goods and services.
West African countries account for 40% of all trade between European Union, Africa, Caribbean and the Pacific region, while trade between ECOWAS countries is just 10%. At the Ghana Standards Authority Open Day in Accra, Head of Public Relations, Ghana Standards Authority, Kofi Amponsah-Bediakon, observed standards and conformity to standards will help eliminate waste, cut down costs, thereby making businesses competitive on the international market.
So harmonization of standards is very important. It is meant to promote trade in West Africa so that what we look for in terms of quality can be guaranteed for all of us. Any country in West Africa, be it Côte d'Ivoire, wherever, we will all be speaking the same language or conforming to the same standard.
He indicated it is more profitable for countries in the sub-region to increase trade amongst themselves as it is predictable and sustainable against ever-declining foreign direct inflows. According to Kofi Amponsah-Bediakon, harmonization of standards in the ECOWAS region will help increase trade.
Currently, trade between among West African countries is very low. We trade more with the Europeans, we trade more with the Americans and other people, more than we do among ourselves in West Africa. And it is one of the problems, areas that harmonization of standards in West Africa aims at addressing.
Technical Director of Silver Company, Victor Ajay, said companies in the country are ready to take advantage of the ECOWAS common standards.
We are very ready to compete with any product that comes into our country, and we can also go out and compete with any other product in any of the ECOWAS countries because we are very good at quality. We have very good established manufacturing practices.
Definitely, let us remain the first in news, best in entertainment. Tonight, we will be breaking a story shortly from the presidency. Do stay with us as we bring you every bit of those details in just about a few seconds as we receive more confirmation. Now to other business stories. Trade and Industry Minister Ekos Biogabra says false documentation by importers and exporters account for over 60% loss of revenue. Now, the minister made this observation during a familiarization tour of some businesses established in Accra.
Trade and Industry Minister's first port of call was the Gihok Distilleries Company, the only surviving unit of the Ghana Industrial Holding Company conglomerate. Gihok Distilleries has continued to make available on the market some preferred alcoholic beverage brands. The minister indicated both local and foreign business enterprises will be monitored to ensure made in Ghana products are displayed at their establishments.
The time is coming when people are going to go around the hotels and certain specialized restaurants, and if we do not see these made in Ghana products in those hotels and restaurants, then they'll have a case to answer.
The minister at GCNet observed a massive leakage in the export and import trade due to lack of effective electronic monitoring systems.
There may be all kinds of leakages taking place within the system, in the warehouse receiving system, in terms of under-invoicing of import declaration forms. It's been discovered, for example, that more than 60% of import declaration forms tend to be falsely filled out. Now, falsely is not necessarily fraudulently, but if the importer doesn't put his or her real name, the company's proper name on the form, the company from which they're importing goods, the value of the goods that they're importing.
The executive chairman of GCNet, Dr. Note Omabo, stressed institutions need strong collaboration to establish database to monitor trade.
The institutions themselves, within their internal processes, could gain benefit from automation of their internal processes.
All right, so I would not exit the business world without giving you a bite of some delicacies. Now we're talking all about onga in spicing your meal. Promasidor Ghana, in partnership with Radio Good, as organizers, have organized an onga cooking competition amongst 12 traditional states of the Ga Dangbe as part of the Homowo celebrations. The competition is aimed at promoting the patronage of traditional meals and healthy eating habits.
The competition was organized within the 12 traditional states of Ga Dangbe to select cooking representatives.
Festivals, it's the time that people come together. The key thing is the food they cook. It's peculiar to them. And in this case, Onga came on board to make the delicious, nutritious meal that they cook extra tasty. So the idea is to have a festival that will bring the Gaga Dangbi something in common to climax their activities.
The 12 finalists gathered at the Ifosedaland Park to compete in cooking the traditional Pokoi meal and any other accompaniment. Winners were selected based on cooking skills and creativity, hygienic cooking environment, and the taste of the meal. La Agbawe traditional area won the competition. Participants were each given consolation prizes ranging from cooking stoves, microwave ovens, utensils, rechargeable multi-purpose lamps, and Onga souvenirs. The Minister for Tourism, Culture and Creative Arts, Elizabeth Ofosu-Ajari, underscored the impact of local foods to the tourism industry.
We know that food is part of our culture and we need to promote our food as Ghanaians. If we keep on relying on foreign dishes and keep on importing all these foods, we all know what happens to the dollar. So we're trying to let these young people know that we have also beautiful foods, nice foods in Ghana Dangwe that they can enjoy.
School children were advised to eat more traditional foods than quickly prepared junk food.
At every point, make sure you have that delicacy onga in my food. My name is Kwekuteme. Many thanks for staying with us.